I have seen so many people say Powerless by Lauren Roberts is just a copy and paste of Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, which totally, if you think that conversation is necessary to have, let's have it. But then the conversation stops and they never tell you what the books have in common. I'm sorry, what? How are you gonna say Powerless is a copy and paste of Red Queen and then not tell us what they have in common? Makes me so mad. So I took it upon myself to read them and take detailed notes on them, and I'm gonna share everything those books have in common and pretty much everything about them, so you'll see the differences as well. This video has major spoilers as I quite literally tell you everything that happens in these books. Only the first ones in the series though. Think of this as one of those videos where they're like, I read this book so you don't have to, but instead of reading one book, I read two. I made posters for all the visual learners out there, so if you would like, comment, and subscribe, I would very much appreciate it. And feel free to watch this video in 2x speed. I understand I'm not a very fast talker. I can't help it. Okay, now that all of that is out of the way, let's get started. Now the settings of both books are very similar, but I wouldn't say they're like out of the ordinary for fantasy books. It's like an undetermined time period where there are castles and kings and queens, and the main characters live in the poor district of the kingdom. That's definitely not out of the ordinary for YA fantasy books, but I did write it up here anyway. Ta-da! First, I'm going to introduce you to Mare from Red Queen. I constantly read her name as Bone Marrow because her name is Mare Barrow, and for some reason, her last name is used frequently throughout this book. My brain could not tell the difference between Mare Barrow and Bone Marrow, so I do think a couple of times in my notes she is referred to as Bone, but I'll try to call her Mare. Anyway, Mare is a red-blooded pickpocket. The way this world works is that people with red blood don't have powers, but people with silver blood do. Now in Powerless, Peyton is very similar to Mare. She is also a thief. She is a pickpocket that does not have powers, but she lives in a world where it is illegal to not have powers. The king is convinced ordinaries or people without powers make the elites or people with powers sick. So they kill all the ordinaries. Peyton pretends that she has powers, but she is what they call a mundane. Mundanes are just people with like mundane powers, the like boring powers, if you will, that don't do a lot. She pretends to be a psychic. She's just really good at reading other people, and like she's very observant, and so she can make educated guesses, and then people are like, oh my gosh, you are a psychic. Next reveal. What I'm getting at is that both protagonists are Aladdin. He's like, Aladdin like is a thief, and he's like poor, and they're thieves, and we are rooting for both Mare and Peyton, even though they are thieves and stealing from people. We're just gonna ignore that, okay? We're gonna ignore that what they're doing is wrong and illegal. We're gonna ignore that if they did that to me, I would be livid. I'm not even being like sarcastic here. I'm being genuine. You do root for them. They also have similar hair colors. Peyton has like full-on silver hair, but Mare has like brown roots that like ombre into silver hair because apparently that's how graying works. Now Mare lives in a house with her family. She has 3 older brothers that are off to war right now, and she has a little sister, Gisa. She's not little, she's just younger. Gisa is a seamstress. Now Peyton from Powerless is unhoused. She lives on the streets with her friend Adina, who kind of acts like a younger sister. You know, they're not related by blood, but they have that sister relationship because they are both on the streets together. Adina is also a seamstress. Did that land? It did land. Good job. So they both have that little sister figure that is a seamstress. At this point, reading these books, I was like, oh, these are really similar. And I was like getting stressed for Lauren Roberts. I was like, girl, what have you done? But I feel like from here, the similarities aren't as obvious, or no, they're obvious, but they're not like they're not as common. They slow down a little bit from here. This is the point where I'm going to start getting into plot, so things do not line up as clearly as they have so far. This is partially due to the plot starting and partially due to the fact that Powerless has 2 POVs and Red Queen only has 1. Mare and Gisa are together in the little town when a terrorist attack happens. The resistance group that took responsibility is called the Scarlet Guard. They are resisting the government because silvers are just seen as like so much better and treated better, while the people with red blood are forced to go to war unless they have a job with silvers. It's kind of a mess. Gisa and Mare were in town when the terrorist attack happened. Basically, the town exploded. Gisa made a silly mistake when the terrorist attack happened. She's like, this is my time to pickpocket from people, even though she had never done it before. So she does it, she gets caught, and they're like, okay, let's break her hand. And so she can no longer be a seamstress, which would have been her job. So now, when she turns 18, she's gonna have to go to war. By the way, Mare is 17, so pretty soon she's gonna have to go to war. Because of course she has red blood and no job. Now I am gonna remind you, her 3 older brothers are at war. Mare, of course, is crashing out over the situation because now everybody in her family will have to go to war. And her father, I believe, went to war, but something went wrong and he's now in a wheelchair. I believe he is a disabled veteran, and Mare always had hope that Gisa just wouldn't have to go to war, and now it's looking like she will have to. Same with Mare's best friend. He just lost his job. He's not on here because I didn't think he was all that important, but I guess him losing his job makes it so that Mare is crashing out even more, because she's like, oh my goodness, like, he's gonna go to war and he's not gonna be able to survive. Mare is trying to get out of the war by joining the Scarlet Guard, but they're like, you have to pay us a lot of money that she doesn't have. So while she is crashing out, she decides she is going to pickpocket someone at night. That person is Prince Cal. And it doesn't explicitly say that he is a prince at this moment, but it is fairly obvious to the reader. Apparently not to Mare, though. As she tries to steal from him, she does not realize that he is the prince. And he catches her right away, but is very nice to her and gives her the money because he can see that she is clearly desperate. And she tells him that she's gonna have to go to war because she doesn't have a job. And he gives her a job. She just tried to steal from him, and he's like, I have a job for you, like, I can get you a job. Did he actually tell her that, or did he do it without telling her? I don't remember, but either way, she gets a job from him. Now let's pivot back to our girl Peyton, who is also pickpocketing people. While trying to steal money, she also accidentally steals a letter. It's just a letter from some random dude that says that they are meeting at the house she grew up in, and she's like, that's weird, but she doesn't think too much of it. Then the purging trials are announced, which happen every 5 years to celebrate the plague for giving the powerful people powers. All powers stem from a plague. It killed a lot of people, but a lot of the survivors ended up with these powers. I guess people that had it but didn't die were given powers, but of course, quite a bit of people were not given powers. But we don't hear about them anymore. Basically, every 5 years, 7 teenagers do trials to show off powers and strengths. It is like the Hunger Games, but killing is frowned upon, but there are several physical fights, and like inevitably people do die. Several people die. The announcement is made that the trials are happening, and then Peyton pickpockets Kai. Or, yeah, no, she does. I was going to say, or she attempts to. No, she is successful. This is once again a situation where Peyton does not realize Kai is a prince when she pickpockets him. We actually know quite a bit about Kai at this point because he is the second POV. Prince Kai is the enforcer. His job is to kill every illegal ordinary, which is every ordinary. But we know he is merciful towards children. He refuses to actually do the deed towards children, but he lets them go, and they have to go into a desert, and they pretty much don't live anyway, but he's not being violent towards them. His power is that he can use other people's powers. Now Kai is not shy about flaunting his wealth, and so Peyton bumps into him accidentally, and he's like super flirty with her, and she's like, oh, he sucks. Like, he's so cocky and annoying, and no one likes arrogant people that flaunt their wealth, which is so true. She's like, there's nothing I like about him. I will gladly steal from this man. So the two separate, and she steals from him and then is off. It's not until they're apart that Kai realizes that she stole from him. Similarity time! First interactions are very similar. I mean, pickpocketing the prince when you don't know that they are the prince. After their interaction, a silencer comes in and decides that they're gonna pick a fight with Kai. Now, silencers have the power to suppress other people's powers and basically like really mess up their brain and cause a lot of pain and almost kill elites. They have the power to kill elites, and that is exactly what that silencer is doing to Kai. Peyton comes in, starts a fight because she's really good at fighting, because of course she is the protagonist. Obviously, she's going to be good at fighting. And the silencer cannot suppress her powers because she doesn't actually have them. She does have an excuse that because she's a psychic, like, that makes it so the silencer can't get to her mind, but in reality, not the case. So she beats up the silencer and saves Prince Kai. After she saves him, she runs away. Kai catches her and is like, I know you stole from me, but thanks for saving my life. And there's a lot of tension there, like... He's like pinning her up against the wall. There's a lot of tension there, and there's a lot of banter. Okay, I'm sorry. I love tension and banter. I do have to say, I'm like a really big fan of that. I would say Red Queen is definitely more of a fantasy with like a little baby subplot of romance, whereas Powerless is a full-on like romantasy. Romance is a very big part of the plot. Now let's get back to Red Queen. Mare. Her job is to be a servant / a waitress for the castle, more specifically Queen's Trial, which is a competition amongst the Silvers where they show off their beauty and power. It's not exactly like the Purging Trials. This is more of like a pageant. It's not like the main plot like the Purging Trials is in Powerless. It's a side quest. It's a side pageant that only lasts for like one night. The winner of like the pageant then gets to marry a prince. The princes being Prince Cal and Prince Maven. As Mare is working, she realizes that Cal is a prince, and she is so betrayed by this. She's acting like it's the biggest betrayal, most important, craziest betrayal of all time, which like, girl, you stole from him, he let you go, and like that's your only interaction with him, and she's like, he's a traitor. Like, I can't believe I ever spoke to him. Like, he's a terrible person. When like, I don't know, I just didn't really understand why she was upset, because she's like full on crashing out over this. Like, I can't believe this. This is terrible, terrible news. I don't really know why it hit her so hard, but it did. And all feelings are valid. Now this next part is kind of hard to follow, but one of the contestants, Evangeline, what does she do? She has the power to manipulate metal, so she does that and like sends an attack towards like the booth / box that Mare is working in. I don't know why Mare was targeted, but Evangeline is like manipulating that box like crazy, like she can with her super cool powers. Now Mare is like, ah, and like tries to like protect herself a little bit by using lightning powers, but she's a red blood. She all of a sudden is like using electricity and lightning to save herself. So she runs, and then the sentinels are like, get her! And so then everybody's running after Mare, and there's like a wall of fire chasing her as well, which I'm pretty sure was Cal's doing, because his powers are like fire powers. He can do cool stuff with fire, I guess. Anyway, she gets got by Cal. Cal catches her. He doesn't like burn her by any means, but I'm pretty sure he like whacks her in the head because she blocks out. Like after he's like, I'm sorry, everything went black. Not gonna lie, that part kind of confused me, so I may not have done a very good job explaining that, / I may have gotten something wrong. Now, back to Powerless. The people yearn to know more about the Silver Savior that saved Prince Kai. The fight was in a public place, so they want to know more about Peyton. So they choose her for the Purging Trials. Kai is also competing in the Purging Trials, which OMG, future heir in Deadly Trial? No. Kit, his older half-brother, is the heir. Kai's just the spare. He doesn't really matter. Well, he does matter because his dad is like, you better win. You're the prince. It would be super embarrassing if you didn't. You've been training all your life for this. So then Peyton has to go live in the castle in the weeks leading up to the trials for like training, and just so everybody in the trials has like a fair chance, they all have to live in the same area. So Kai no longer gets to stay in his usual bedroom. He now has to stay with all the other tributes. I mean, they have their own rooms, but it's in like the same area. They're the same type of room. We can reveal the next thing. There are 2 princes that are half-siblings. Back to Red Queen. Mare has powers, but she has red blood, making her of interest to the king and queen. They want her to marry Maven to trick rebellious Reds into following her and not the terrorist group, the Scarlet Guard. They pretend and they tell everybody that she has silver blood, even though she doesn't, and that she was raised by the Reds. It's kind of a thing of, she was a Red just like you, but now she's gonna be a princess because it turns out she was actually a silver. I don't know that I mentioned this. Cal is the older brother, so Maven in this case is the spare. So Mare and Peyton are now both living in castles. Future King Kit asks Peyton if she will be his date to the ball. So both girlies are kind of like dating the brother of who we, the audience, know they're probably going to end up with if it is actually like enemies to lovers. Which, going into both books, I feel like you know that they are enemies to lovers. But right now, we're with the brother, okay? There's love triangles going on right now. They're not actually happening yet, but this is where they sort of start. Now it's time for the Purging Trials introduction ceremony, where we have the host, Tila, which I didn't write her name. She's honestly not that important, but I think it's interesting to note that Tila has teal hair and a personality like Caesar Flickerman from the Hunger Games. I just thought it was necessary to be like, oh, she's just the female Caesar. Basically, the ceremony is to just introduce everybody in the kingdom to the contestants. Is that what they're called? The people in the trial, the 7 people. So the contestants show off their powers, and Peyton just like picks random people in the audience and like does a quick read of them and is like, oh my gosh, like you just got engaged. And they're like, oh, she would only know this if she was a sidekick. This is crazy. But like, they have tells that she can notice. She observes. Oh, and at this point, there's also interviews, and they're like, what do you hope to get out of this? And they're like, I hope to serve my kingdom, or something like that. And Peyton's like, I just hope to survive. And everyone's like, that's so crazy. She's so different. We love her. Peyton and Kai train together, and they get into very physical fights, and actually try to hurt each other. But Kai is like flirting the whole time, sees it as a flirt, and I think Peyton tells herself she just genuinely wants to hurt him. Then one night, Kai decides he's going to teach Peyton how to ballroom dance, because he's like, I don't want you to like embarrass yourself in kit at the ball, like I'm protecting my brother. So then at midnight, they're in her room like ball dancing together. Maybe it's his room. Maybe it's somewhere else. I don't know. The point is, it was late at night, they were alone together, dancing. At this point, Adina comes back and is Peyton's seamstress, so she makes her dresses for the balls, because there are multiple. Her ball gowns are a different color than everybody else's, because I guess everybody, like, agrees, or it's just, the norm is to wear, I think it's green. I think that's like Ilya's colors, which it is the kingdom of Ilya. But Peyton wears silver instead. I think that those are the colors. The point is that she is wearing something drastically different than everybody else. And of course, that's a scandal. At the ball, bombs go off. And it's not because she's a bad dancer and she bombs it. No, like actual bombs, like happen. There is a rebellion group against the royals / the elites called the Resistance. It is kind of unclear at this point if it's just like mundanes, like people with like boring powers, or if it's actually ordinaries doing it, but there is a resistance group. We have a similarity. They both have rebellion groups. Now let's go back to Red Queen. Mare's experience in the castle is fairly different. She's taking etiquette classes, and it's kind of giving like Bridgerton or like Princess Diaries vibes. It's, you know, how to properly sip tea and how you should eat dinner and stuff like that. Then Julian comes into the picture. He is Cal's uncle. He is not Maven's uncle because they have different mothers. Cal's mom is dead. Julian helps Mare understand her powers / research why she has them, why she has red blood and powers. He's kind of also just like helping her train a little bit. Now when Mare started living at the castle, she requested that her family come home from war. She's like, if you want me to play the part you want me to, you need to make it so that my family and friends do not have to go to war. And they're like, deal, we will send them home right away. But then they're like, oh, sorry, one of your brothers beheaded. And you want to know why he was beheaded? Because he was in the Scarlet Guard. So of course Mare has a breakdown. Of course she's throwing a fit. This is terrible. Her brother is dead. Her brother was executed by the government. So then Mare and Maven decide that they are going to join the Scarlet Guard, okay? They join the Guard and help plan the next attack that will take place at the next ball. They choose the 4 people that they want to target. They just pick 4 people that are like, it's okay if they die. We won't be too sad, which is kind of weird, but okay. Anyway, Cal feels bad about the situation with Mare. I think Mare criticizes Cal, saying that he's never at war and he never has to do any of the dirty work, but the people with red blood that have families have to do it. So then Cal's like, I'm going to the front lines, I'm going to war. But before he can do that, there's a ball. And you want to know what happens at the ball? I was going to say boom, explosion, but actually what happens first is bullets get lodged into the 4 people that Maven and Mare chose. And as bullets are going awry, then boom, big explosion, which Mare and Maven are like, we did not agree to an explosion, what's going on here? And it turns out it was actually just like a bullet that hit like a gas line, gas pipe, something, explosion, okay? But it was from bullets and not from a different device. So that means we have another similarity. Booms at balls. Back to Powerless. Trial number 1. The contestants wake up in a forest with the task of collecting like these leather bands, as many of them as possible. And like each person has a band and you have to take it from the other contestants in the forest. Sometimes when you're trying to take a leather band, people put up a fight. It gets very physical. And sometimes this is where like death comes into the picture. Whether it be from self-defense or trying to take. Kai and Peyton find each other in the woods pretty early on and they decide that they're gonna team up, okay? Peyton finds a bow and arrows and they come across wolves. You know, that sounds awfully familiar, but not because of Red Queen, because of an entirely different book. For those of you who have no interest in Hunger Games and that means nothing to you, read the Hunger Games, watch the movies, either or, they're both amazing. Anyway, there's a lot of physical fights and someone does unfortunately die. But after the trial, Peyton goes to her childhood home because she noticed someone at the ball was like the same dude that she stole the letter from. And so then she goes to her childhood home and they tell her her dad was one of the leaders of the resistance. He was like one of the founders, I think even. And that is why he was killed. We know that like Peyton's dad was killed and that she's like caught glimpses of him dying. And now we know why. It's because he was a part of the resistance. Another similarity. Get it? I put like an X through family member because brother, dad, resistance groups. She joins the resistance at this point. Then there is another ball and everyone gets drunk. And the king is like, I want all surviving contestants to have one-on-one fights. You're gonna get in a ring and you're gonna fight each other drunk. But that is not one of the trials. That was just like an extra thing. The next day, the contestants wake up hungover and they're in trial 2. They do trial 2 hungover. And you want to know what the trial is? They have to climb a mountain, but they do so in teams. So these contestants that just tried to kill each other, specifically we know Blair and Peyton are like mortal enemies. They are out for each other's blood. They now are in a team together to climb a mountain. Climbing a mountain hungover with people you hate, that just actually seems terrible. Anyway, they do it. It's very hard, but they are successful, and then they get to the top, and now they're like kind of, they don't hate each other as much now, right? Because teamwork brings people together. And then they get to the top of the mountain, and it plateaus, and bam, everybody for themselves, capture the flag. There's like a flag in the center of it, and everyone, it's like full-on physical fights, punch, 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 anything to get that flag. Only one person can win. Peyton, of course, wins because she is that girl. Back to Red Queen, we have Mare and Maven and the rest of the Scarlet Guard planning a coup. At this point, Mare and Maven get really close because Maven is just a sweetheart and they're supposed to be betrothed. And, you know, that's what's going on. Same with, like, Kit and Peyton. Like, at every single ball they go to, you know, they're going together. And they're sweet. And Kit has, like, a little crush on Peyton. And that's, like, what's going on here. They like each other. They get close. And in order for their plan to work, they need Cal on their side. Mare is like, oh, he will never choose me over the crown, though. He doesn't love me. And everybody is like, be so for real. Be so for real. We know that you guys love each other. We know it. And he's constantly saving you from all of the messes you get yourself into. He's always going to be there for you. And she's like, in my head, I'm saying, I have to lie to myself saying that I don't have feelings for him. She goes to Cal and is like, pick me. Choose me. love me. Okay, so she doesn't say all of that, but she does say choose me. Like straight up says, please choose me. And he says no. He says no. Everybody just hyped her up saying he will do anything for you, and he says no. Because he's not going to betray the crown. He's not going to betray everything he believes in to join the dark side in his eyes. Anyway, back to Powerless. Hayden convinces Kit that they should sneak out together because she wants to see, you know, her home, see what's going on. He needs to see how the poor people live, / his future people. When he is king, he's going to be looking over these people. He needs to know what their conditions are like. It will make him a better king, and he agrees. And he shows her like these like crazy underground tunnels that get you in and out of the castle that you would really only know about if you were told about them. They're very hard to find. She brings all that information right to the resistance. So trial 3 starts. It is a shifting maze in their big arena, and whoever makes it to the middle of the maze first and kills the criminal that is inside the like center of the maze wins. Hayden makes it to the middle of the maze first, then Kai makes it to the middle, and that is when we find out Adina is the criminal that has to be killed in the middle, and Hayden's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But then Blair makes it to the middle and shows no mercy. She's just like, I'm gonna use my powers, and then bam, Branch impales Adina. Obviously, Hayden runs to Adina, and it's this super emotional moment where she's like, oh no, my sweet Adina, don't die. But I mean, Adina doesn't really have a choice now, does she? During all of this chaos, the resistance comes into the arena through all of the tunnels, and they come and they get the king and queen, and they get Kit, and there's like so much going on, and Kit immediately knows who the traitor is because he just showed Hayden where the tunnels are. So now he knows that Hayden is a traitor. He finds out that Hayden doesn't have powers, and like, oh, poor boy. Like, he was falling in love with this girl, and then she's just like, who cares? But speaking of traitors, in Red Queen, Maven is like, mwah. I'm not actually on the side of the Scarlet Guard. My mother and I, the queen, we have had some plans that I would just like get information out of the Scarlet Guard so that we would have it, you know? The queen has powers to like infiltrate minds, and she gets into Cal's mind and literally gets him, like is in his mind, and forces him to kill his father. And you wanna know the best part? They get it on film. They record it, and then they show it to the whole kingdom. They show it to everybody. While they are filming that, they are great actors. Maven's like, my dad, no, don't kill my dad. And the queen's like, no, my husband, you can't do that. Cal, I can't believe you would do that so that you would be king next. Like, that's terrible. Mare and Cal are sent to an arena for public execution so that everybody in the kingdom can see them being executed, and they want to like make it into this big show, which was a mistake. Maven's gonna be the next king, and the queen now has like all the power. Mare and Cal are in the arena, but they are like mad fighters. They're good at fighting, and they escape. They fight for their lives, and they end up getting away. Then comes the epilogue, and there we are with the Scarlet Guard, Cal, and Mare all together. Cal is very obviously unhappy. He just killed his dad, and he didn't want to. And everyone in his life betrayed him. So there's like no one left for him. And dun dun dun, it turns out Mare's brother that was beheaded is actually still alive. Wow. Anyway, back to Powerless. The king confronts Hayden because they like get all the contestants out and put them in the castle or whatever, and then Hayden's like, I have to run away. So she tries to run away, and then the king like confronts her in the hallway and is like, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, I know you have no power, and he is almost gonna do it. He's like about to get her, and then she switches up, right? And she's gonna get him, and then he's like, don't you want to know who killed your dad? And she's like, I know who killed my dad. It was you. And then he's like, No, it wasn't. It was Kai. It was the guy you are falling in love with. So then she's like, bye-bye, King, and kills him. And then Kai is going to kill Peyton, but then he lets her go because, you know, he loves her. And then a couple of days later, Kit is now king, and Kit is like, Kai, you better go find Peyton. And then it ends. So, last similarity, the kings die. Now, obviously, these books have a lot in common, but I guess it's kind of up to you whether you think it's, like, too much in common or if it's something you're willing to look past. Let me know if you think I missed anything important, because I know I did leave some minor things out that I was like, this conversation doesn't really matter, or like I didn't mention characters that I didn't see as like super important. Do you think people are being too harsh when it comes to Powerless, or do you think people need to be more harsh and call them out because the books are similar? I think either way, this controversy is bringing a lot of eyes onto both books, and potentially letting more people like be exposed to these books makes more people read them. I just want to know your thoughts on the situation. Do you think these are like deal breakers? Do you think there's more similarities that I potentially missed out on? There could be. Or do you think the situation really doesn't matter because like Victoria Aveyard seems like very unbothered by it, so like why should you be bothered by it? This video is very different from my others. Let me know if I should make more like it, if you're interested in the deep dives, if they're fun, or pass, do a reading log. Come on, something you actually know how to do. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you would like, comment, and subscribe, I would very much appreciate it. I will see you at some point or another. Bye!